What up, y'all? It is the O Show. Tuesday. February 20th. Hope you're doing good. We're here doing For King and Country number 5. 1980s style pen and paper role playing Labyrinth Lord, based off the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition. We're in the dungeon. We're in progress. Milos just slept. Some cultists who ran into the chamber they were exploring. That's where we'll be joining in. Do you hear the dungeon ambience? Or you want me to turn it up?
I hear it.
Is it spooky as hell?
It's quite spooky.
Well, we know where we're picking up here. It is essentially the beginning of turn 34 down here in the forest ruins. Since that encounter, I believe it was 20 seconds long. I'll just describe the scene briefly. What's the lighting situation right now? Lantern?
Lantern.
Who have?
Reap has.
Got it. So Reap's holding a lantern. From the flickering oil light from it, you can see the entire chamber clearly illuminated. Milos is standing with his back to a torture rack, if I remember correctly, with the desiccated and dispatched corpse of an elf. Decently old. I believe there was like a basket on the table or on the torture rack as well, a wicker basket that had a blood-stained wooden club in it, presumably used in the deed. Actually, I think I can tell you exactly. Imagine that. That's 13, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. And then the elf was, of course, wearing the holy symbol of which elven god was it?
Andrea.
Give me a quick one on her, Miller.
The patron saint of Warhammers is also turned to in the times of war by the elves.
Got it. So tarnished silver holy symbol of that on the elf that's on that rack over by Milos. Elsewhere in the chamber, the torchlight illuminates an oak barrel over by in that eastern corner, as well as a collapsed loom pushed up by the southern wall. And of course, the general debris of the ruins, the misshapen, somewhat collapsed ceiling of the chamber, the walls crumbling here and there in places. Both the doorway in and out, by the way, have the ancient and rusted hardware for a door. It's just that it's long been broken down or destroyed. occasionally, maybe you'll see the splinters of the remains of the door when there's an open doorway like that. And of course, let's not forget, the two unconscious cultists collapse on the ground, wearing faded crimson robes, tattered, rotting. Sorry if you can hear the landscapers. They're wearing kind of ornate, though tarnished, moon masks. The robes themselves have like moon embroidery, and they were fighting with kind of like sacrificial knives, long blades, but not quite swords, like a dirk maybe, a long dagger. And while ornate, they too had a patina of tarnish and mold on them. Milas cast sleep, and then they're unconscious. So that's the scene. So what do you do in turn 34? Keep in mind it's like 10 minutes long, and so you can have a pretty decent conversation in that amount of time. But keep in mind as far as how far you can move in a turn, how far or how much space you can search for secret doors or traps or that sort of thing. Feel me?
I have a quick metagame question.
Yeah.
Did they spawn invisible sight because they have to spawn in an area we've explored, or did they spawn over there because there's something over there?
I'll simply say whenever possible, I will, even though it may be a random encounter or something along those lines, I will always try to make it still make sense, if that's enough of a hint.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, what up, Sabatum? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for fluffing the cup. Looks like it worked. Really appreciate that, man. So dive in there, turn 34. I guess I could just call on you guys if you don't jump in immediately. So let's start at the bottom up. Roland.
I would think
Turn
Roland
34.
would be concerned with the elf on the torture rack, so he's probably going to move over there.
Well, I mean, go ahead and feel free to move. I feel like what would be better in this case, honestly, is if you guys discussed what you wanted to do each turn like this. Because if you're conversating, that'll happen. And if there are things that your characters are coordinating to do during the turn, that'll happen too. Because this isn't like a combat round, you know what I mean? And so I would recommend that. You guys should talk to each other about what you're doing. Like, your movement is total for the 10 minutes. So you can chop it up or, all that type of stuff.
Darcy would want to definitely kill the occultist who attempted anyway to backstab her.
Well, try role-playing it out. Try just diving in there in character. And trying to think what your character would do based on alignment, like we talked about a little bit before we started playing. And then go from there. I mean, I'm not hating. That's kind of basic stuff. You guys have been playing a lot of tabletop for a while now. But it's always good to have a little reminder. So that's what I would recommend. Just dive in there, role play it out. You know what I mean?
Darcy pulls her sword out, puts it to the neck of the occultist on the ground, and says, "Where I'm from, we kill the men who want to harm us."
And I would say that where I'm from, weak people must die.
We're in agreement then. She slits the throat of the occultist in front of her and searches its body.
There you go.
And as Reap steps forward and does the same to the cultist that was behind him.
Milos, how does he feel about that happening before his eyes?
He feels fine about it. I mean, they were trying to kill people he was working with, so.
What about poor Roland?
Roland is mostly concerned with the torture rack. He wasn't sure how long the person had been dead, if they were dead or anything like that. So he's checking them out.
Let's do it old school. Why not roll like a intelligence check? And so in old school, that's just a D20, and you're trying to get under your. I think it's maybe in Labyrinth Order it's still 2d6, but I think it's a D20. Let me double check. Ability checks.
Also, for Killmark's sake, these are just cultists.
Nah,
Or what are
it's hold tight one second. It is a D20. So go ahead and make that check for Roland. Just roll a D20. Try to get under your intelligence. Don't think so. Right?
It was 12.
So Roland, though he gives a visual examination of the desiccated corpse, he can't determine how long it's been there. Except for very roughly. You know, not long enough to be a skeleton. Now Miller asked about what?
I'm just keeping track of kills, so what are these classified as? I've got giant rats and skeletons so far.
So this would be classified, if you want to keep track of a kill, I would call it a cultist.
Yeah, okay, that's what I said.
And you guys are rifling through the robe pockets of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right
For
on.
sure.
Can do that. Can do that.
I think at the end of the last game, I have written down that the between the two occultists, like we've already marked XP for them, and we also looted 26 copper pieces.
Off them?
I'm guessing that's just what
Yeah,
they dropped.
I
We
think
didn't
I
search-
think
we
I
didn't
must
search
have.
them.
No, I think what I did is I went ahead and gave you what you would get from searching them. So that's what you
Yeah.
get.
All right. So mechanically, just to keep track of it on my inventory, then we each get 13 copper pieces. Like we'll split it in half.
There's 26 copies found altogether.
I would just worry about like who's carrying what for now, and then split it up later, if that makes sense. Like once it's all loaded on the mule, you can kind of go through it. Does that make
Okay.
sense? So like
Yeah.
if you found that, then you would probably just take it. And if Reap found that, he would just take it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be sitting there in the dungeon counting it out right now. But then later, when you're maybe resting or, you know, at the mule loading it back up, that's when you might split it up, or probably just store it on the mule maybe, but then maybe somebody robs the mule. I mean, what's an adventure to do?
I know.
Hire guards, I guess.
Milos is going to be checking this barrel for traps. Played Monster Hunter. I've seen what happens when you put a barrel down.
Shit, I forgot to get my dice. Hold on one second. I know it's lame, but I like to use physical dice. Though I was listening last time and you could actually hear me rolling, so that's kind of cool. Alright. So, what do you detect traps on, Milas? I think it'll be,
The barrel.
yeah, but, what number? On a d6.
I believe a 1 or a 2.
You sure?
I'm checking right now. 1 to 2 on a d6 chance of detecting traps, false walls, hidden construction, or noticing of passages or slopes.
Why is that? Why is it 1 to 2?
From their experience underground.
Whose?
Elves.
Their experience underground?
Oh, hey, wait a minute. I'm reading the wrong fucking thing.
I think elves is 1 or 2 for detecting secret doors, but 1 for detecting traps.
Yep, it is.
That sounds more
Right.
accurate. Their time underground.
Good looking out.
Milas reveals he's a drow. Alright. The barrel from Milas's examination seems to not be tied into any traps. It also appears to be dry and empty inside. Like maybe it leaked out long ago.
From its time underground.
From its experience underground. So dispatching the cultist would happen quickly. Milas's inspection is going to take his turn. Roland also could do something. We'll say that
Did it-
examining the body quickly didn't take that long.
So there's a door to the north of Roland right now, right?
No.
Well, and he'll check for secret doors because that wall looks suspect on the map.
Got it. So he's going to detect those on a 1, I believe,
Yes, because of his time underground.
due to his experience underground. Roland examines a suspicious indent in the wall, but it appears to have no secret passages or chambers beyond it. Just maybe some roots growing in. So Reap and Darcy could do something with their turn if they wish.
Well, Reap walks over back to Roland and hands him back his lantern and says, well, didn't quite get to really do anything considering how short that was, so I return this.
Why, thank you.
Now keep in mind, if I remember correctly, you can't ever surprise something if you're holding a light, right? We can double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. That should be under... It doesn't seem to mention it. Maybe it would mention it under...
Okay, light and darkness. Characters or monsters that carry a light source are unable to surprise opponents.
That's what I was going to say. I bet it talks about under the light rules. Alright. Well, I'm glad I remembered that right, at least. Even though it takes a little bit extra time, I don't mind checking regularly because it helps us remember it better, and I'd rather do it right. You feel me? So that's good to know. So if you do have the lantern out, active, then you won't be able to. Even if you win surprise, you don't win it. If that makes sense. Did I forget to take these?
Apparently. Found him on the kitchen counter.
I have kind of a headache, so I got out Excedrin and then I got some water, but I didn't make the rest of the connection. Thank you.
You're welcome. I thought you might want to take that instead of wondering why you still have a headache.
Yeah, but now I'm in the zone, so I didn't even notice. Alright, anyhow. Have you been keeping track of your total movement this turn, Reed?
Yep, that's puts me at 30 right there.
Okay. About Darcy.
Yeah, Darcy's moved 10 feet.
Okay. You just leave these cultists where you slit their necks?
Well, first, before we handle that, Darcy remembers seeing that little silver necklace on the dead elf's body.
Did Reap grab that?
No, not
No.
according to my
Okay.
notes.
I had a vague memory of that, but maybe I was just surprised that he didn't.
No, what happened was Darcy went into the room alone.
Hmm.
She examined the elf and saw the necklace, but then some rodents of unusual sizes
Hmm.
spawned across the map, and she didn't loot the elf, she just ran.
Got it.
So it's still there. So she's going to take the little silver necklace very gingerly and carefully off the dead elf's
Nice.
body and kind of whisper to him in Elvish that that Vandria will help his life be avenged.
Nice. You put it on?
Then she puts it on.
Oh, shit!
Multi-class cleric.
I was gonna say, here comes that multi-class. Thing is, though, if we only play this to 10 episodes, I mean, it'll be on the shelf. We can always bust it out later, but I feel like you guys are itching for that Dark Sun magnum opus. I feel like that's what you guys are gonna want at the 10th episode. Do you? Or do you think you want to continue this?
Only time will tell.
Alright. So is that Darcy's full turn, or does she got some more?
I mean,
How much of your movement do you even have left?
I moved 10 feet.
Yeah, but how much can you move in a turn?
I can move 30.
Well, I think weren't we planning to head up to the surface and rest?
You should talk about it and roleplay it out
There's
and
been
discover
no such
that.
discussion in Reap's ears.
And discover that.
Reap just handed back the lantern and continued walking towards the next door.
Yeah,
So
Reap's
if you
all
wanna-
business.
Oh,
If you want to tell him otherwise.
Neelis was silently crouched inspecting something. Roland was silently inspecting something. And Darcy was whispering to a dead body. So yeah, no one's really talking about it.
And Reap had some conversations like, well, that wasn't much use.
What is, just out of my own curiosity, what is Reap's? What's your HP status
4,
out of?
10.
Very wounded. Visibly.
so
I like the bars because you can kind of see it at a glance. Like you can imagine, like Darcy would look quite fucked up as well, visibly.
it looks like you two have had a pretty rough day. Maybe we should head back up to the surface and get back at this tomorrow.
Darcy calls over her shoulder to Reap. If you've never done this before, one wrong move will kill you down here.
The monsters are a lot harder to hit whenever you don't have people putting them to sleep, too.
I mean, Reap is already at the door, so at turn 35, that's going to activate. But we could say this talk happened as Reap was walking up to it. So you at least are looking into the room 14. In fact, let's say that. Let me fill you in on room 14, and then we'll pick it up on. So we're in turn 35, the beginning of it.
I see some redrawn walls. Do we have the dynamic lighting stuff in effect?
Not yet, no. Sorry about it. I just haven't had the chance. You'll need to rest in 3 turns. I'll roll for an encounter next turn. Boom, boom, boom. And then let's fill you in on what you can see here of 14. First, let me go ahead and reveal some. Actually, I'll kind of do it for now. But I feel like I might as well reveal what you would infer, you know? Just so we don't have to deal with all a little bit. There you go. I gotta move some of my stuff.
Reap sees enormous letters on the ground.
Alright. Spooky.
Reed begins interpreting. Turn, resurrect.
There's no resurrect.
Sure.
He was getting resurrected.
Well, the floor said so.
The Lord? Alright. Now, let's learn. I love this room. I love it so much. Alright, so here comes some of my illustrious drawing skills. So this room, this chamber, is a bit bizarre. It's still, you know, crumbling around. The walls of it are crumbling, the ceiling, all that, how we've been describing. The door frame you're stepping through has like rusted, pitted hardware from a door that was once there. But Reap can see in the light that the lantern casts through the doorway, and maybe even through some small holes and cracks in the wall itself. Who knows? He can see illuminated. Well, first he can see that this room has been almost... It's either that it appears that it's been painstakingly swept out. The floor is immaculate. In addition to that, you can see the edge of a... How do I want to describe it? What appears to be a stone basin of water that would be there. You can see that the edges of it are carved with ornate, like naked little goblin looking things dancing around, holding like tons of coins and tossing coins around. And he can see that the basin does have crystal clear water in it as well. So that's the beginning of turn 35. Man, this is some 1980s shit right here. You feel me? So, again, turns are 10 minutes, so feel free to talk about the turn. Feel free to roleplay during the turn. All that good shit.
Does Reap appear to take heed of any of the advice being thrown at him?
Well, he was walking towards the door as you were saying all this, so
Yeah.
as he's hearing you
This
say
is like right after y'all said that, basically.
Yeah.
I was just describing
Sure.
what he saw,
I'm
and I took a long time. Sorry about that.
No.
So like Reap kind of stops in the doorway there and kind of looks what he can kind of see dimly in the next room. Well, there's something peculiar about this room, and there's clean water in here, which is strange, especially for a place like this. But I mean, if we're all in agreement to rest, I can definitely use some patching up.
Darcy says we have clean water on the mule.
Indeed, but it is just strange that there's clean water in such a decrepit place.
Perhaps it's the doings of these occultists.
Oh, they themselves didn't look very clean or well kept.
Darcy just shrugs. Who am I to know the ways of men?
Speaking of men, maybe I shouldn't have taken those tokens off the page, but there are the bodies of 2 men. Cultists they may be, they're still insane, deranged, but they are men laying there. You can just leave them laying. I'm just saying, don't forget that they're there, roleplay wise.
Well, their occultist buddies might not like that very much.
Possible.
Well, it would seems like they had no terms of discussing or negotiation anyway, so regardless if their slain comrades are here, they will attack us anyway. But nonetheless,
We also didn't really engage them in conversation.
that's because they got the initiative, and they attacked me.
Should we put him in one of those closets, cupboards? What is the word I'm looking for?
An Iron Maiden.
Pantry. The Iron Maiden.
There is an Iron Maiden in Chamber 15 with a convenient chair to relax and view the torture in. I was thinking about rats in the dungeon, by the way, and how badass their loot is, and how much sense it actually makes. Because rats would basically constantly pour over the dungeon, looking for things to eat or shiny things to collect. And so over time, they would find all the dank shit.
Next group of rats, let's parlay with them.
Yeah. Just give us a cut. 10%.
So I do
Literally top it
suppose we left all of the bodies of the undead we've slain along the way.
Yeah, but that's kind of different. They've been skeletons and they collapsed into a pile of bones, which is kind of what was there in the first place.
Yeah.
These are the first, aside from the rats. Which,
Men,
that's a little bit of a
sure.
thing, yeah. Roleplay it up, though. How do your characters interact with each other? You know, what do they look like right now as far as, like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of in your mind's eye, try to think about it so you can relay it to us as well. But think about, since you got 3 lawful neutral people, like, what is their personal code? Like, how would they behave based on their alignment? And then Roland, you know, he's kind of the man in the middle because he's the only good character. So, he may be meek or what have you, but he might secretly try to like help out people or do good things on the sly on the side.
Well, I know it definitely looks like Darcy and I could use a bit of rest. How about you two?
Try to make your character seem cool to me. so that I will be less inclined to kill them.
Well, Roland looks exhausted and terrified. He's got bags under his eyes. He's haunted. Milos, on the other hand, is still kind of driven by looking for the secrets. He's like enthralled by the place.
They also were kind of hired on, interestingly, as professional adventurers, and remarkably are the only uninjured people. What is Darcy?
Oh. Darcy's pretty beat up and scuffed and scratched. She would, I don't know if I necessarily searched the body of that elf. It was just sort of apparent when she examined him that there was that necklace on there.
The elf's
So
been
would there be-
thoroughly examined.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to ask.
all good.
She'd tell Reap, where I'm from, men like this would be hung from the trees to warn the others. But there are no trees in this dungeon. I say we leave him here. Or better yet, let's put him right by that fancy fountain you found.
It seems to... something's unkeen about that. I don't want to go in there. This whole place is run down, dirty, destroyed, rotten, and this is... looks like it was just built.
Darcy.
If you want to walk in, by all means, but I need to regain my strength. I need to at least patch up my hand from this nasty rat bite.
If we're moving any bodies, we should move this elf and bury it next to its kin.
That's true. Zinvin is buried nearby.
Darcy says, I'll help you carry him.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, I'd say between the two of you, no problem.
Reap scoffs at the fact that they're taking an elf out to bury him. 20 years. And just walks through the room.
So, it is important to keep track of your turn movement here and how long it takes you guys to actually get to the exit. So go ahead and move your characters as far as they'll be able to move. I won't impose any movement penalties on you guys for carrying the body or anything. The only thing is you gotta stay together. And is that all you can do in turn 35?
Darcy could technically move here.
Can Roland get that far or no?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So we'll be transitioning into turn 36. You're going to need to rest in 2 turns. And I will be checking for a random encounter right now. You appear to be good. What's going on in turn 36? You guys can just continue moving if that's pretty much the plan here. Just be sure to keep the corpse bearers together. Do you guys like that chamber where there's an Iron Maiden with you can relax and enjoy watching it? The folks who dwelled here in the before times must have been pretty chill. Alright, is that as far as you can get in turn 36? So we'll go to turn 37. You get a rest in 1 more turn. And then go ahead and move as far as you can get.
Why are we carrying this pointy-eared thing anyway?
Because he deserves a proper burial. Vandria will want to see him on the other side.
Does Milas agree with us?
Milas would.
But he stays quiet about it.
He doesn't want his superstitions to really be known.
Doesn't want to piss off at work. Okay.
What right does she have deserved to be buried? Or is it a she? I think you said it was a female elf.
Yeah, let's decide it's a girl now. I don't remember.
I think you just can't tell.
Oh, you'd be able to tell with this thoroughly as it's been examined. Yeah, let's say it's a girl. A lovely lady elf. So you do need to rest. Now.
On turn 30.
Do what? It's
On
turn
turn
38?
38?
Yeah, you gotta rest right now. So you're currently tired. That's what I should say. You're tired. Now everyone's tired, meaning until you take a turn to rest, you're gonna have a -1. Also, I'm going to check for a encounter,
You don't have to do that.
but you're safe. Are you gonna rest now, or are you going to just risk it and push on? You could keep going, and let me tell you exactly what you'll have, just so we're all clear. But I think it's just a -1 to hit, if I remember correctly.
Well, the DM used the word risk it, so I think we're going to rest.
Well, I'm just saying you could have a random encounter show up. I'm so bad at remembering where shit is. I should just type it into the find. Here we go. Yeah. Here we go. Boom. Yep, I was right. I'm glad I checked, but you'll have a -1 actually to hit and damage rolls.
Bummer.
So I'm just setting up the option for you. You could so here in turn, what did I say? 38 we're on. Sounds kosher, right? Yeah, 38. So here in turn 38, you could rest because you're tired, or you could continue traveling. The only downfall to that is if a random encounter is rolled, you will be facing it with -1 to hit and -1 to your damage. Your choice. Feel free to talk it out.
Darcy puts her half of the dead elf body down and rests up against the wall.
Seeing her
Visibly
set this
tired.
down, Reap is tired, but he pushes on. He kind of steps over the body and past Darcy there.
Yeah, right?
We'll
Roland
see.
and Milas
go
are
ahead.
going to sit down too.
Yeah, right?
And once he arrives over here at this end of the table, he takes a seat for next turn.
So we're resting.
I didn't think I could rest if I moved.
I mean, I could imagine you could walk around a little bit while you're resting. It's not that serious. You only walked like 15 feet.
That was my full movement since I walked around the table.
Okay. Well then, yeah, maybe you don't rest. Maybe you're just being a hard ass.
That's what I'm saying. He walks over there and he spots a chair, which he will sit upon when he arrives.
Got it. So, Roland, Darcy, Milas no longer tired. Where do you lay the corpse while you spend 10 minutes resting here? Now, you guys aren't confusing your combat movement with your turn movement, are you?
My combat movement is 10 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure that you're using the right one.
I'm just keeping my characters in sync with everybody else's, even though they can move further.
Got it. So the reason that you guys are going slowly is Darcy and Reap are encumbered.
Pretty much, yeah.
Got it. It happens. So we're gonna then transition into turn 39. Get a rest in 5. Since you just rested. That's next turn. So what are your characters doing this turn?
Picking up the dead body and pushing on.
I think you guys remember the descriptions of the areas, so I'm just not giving them again to save time. But if you forget, feel free. So you guys are going to go ahead and move your full turn movement. Darcy's setting the pace, basically. And then what about Reap? He's
Reap's,
currently tired.
He is. He's gonna plop his butt right there in a little piece of crumbled marble stone, and just wait for the other group to kind of catch up and walk back past him.
So you're going to rest?
Yes.
Alright. So you're technically like one turn off sync of the rest of the party, but I'm just gonna put you on the same schedule. So we're all moved, eh? So we go to turn 40.
Who's carrying the body again?
Darcy and Roland. You gotta rest in 4 turns, and I gotta roll something real quick. Alright, you're safe. I like this procession. Who's carrying the light, by the way?
Oops, I moved Reap.
What? Whoa.
Sorry.
I was trying to rotate myself when I flew across the room.
I meant to grab myself.
Is Milas carrying it, probably?
Yeah, Roland has the light, but I guess Milas would have to hold it if Roland's carrying the corpse.
Yeah. I just like the imagery of y'all carrying this desiccated body through the ruins. And it's very good roleplay.
And Reap kind of chimes up again. It doesn't even look like she fell in battle. Looks like she was captured and killed in a weak way.
Wait, didn't Reap rest this turn?
No, he rested whenever you guys caught up to him.
That's... Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm off on my notes, that's all.
We're
on
cool.
turn 40.
Yeah, we're currently on turn 40 now. Or 41 now. You gotta rest in 3 turns. No random encounter checks this turn. Just moving. You're almost there.
No one responds to Reap.
What did Reap
Kind
say?
of just...
He's complaining that she didn't fall in battle. Looks like she was captured and tortured to death.
We're all just kind of used to Reap bitching about how people die. And,
You just met him.
yeah.
Okay. We are in turn 42. Get a rest in 2. We're checking for an encounter right now. You're almost there, but is this encounter going to show up? Dun, 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 dun. You're safe. I can't believe how fucking safe you guys are. This is bullshit.
We've been really lucky.
Yo, the game is gonna give me one right in here, though. I can feel it. I'm not fudging either. This is straight up. You know I wouldn't be out here lying.
We're going to get back up to the mule, and we'll get a random encounter.
Well, that's the thing is, while you're camping, you do get random encounter checks. They're just much less frequent.
If a random encounter pops in this room, we could just run out.
Yeah, but it's not like it's not gonna chase you.
Yeah, but then we got to deal with Reap, and he's gonna be like, "You guys are such pansies."
You would be.
All
You
right.
guys were confused. That was my Reap impression. There weren't two Reaps.
So you guys are moved, right?
Removed.
We're turn 43. Got to rest in one more turn. Right now, your random encounter checks are synced up to when you get tired. How cool is that? Go ahead and move though. No encounter check right now. You might be able to make it out.
This is the door here, not this, right?
I would imagine that. I would actually rule that once you get to that chamber 1, you're actually basically out. I mean, we actually don't have to continue it because if you remember the way I describe it, chamber 1 is actually open to like the light from outside. And you guys had to break through those 2 doors, meaning that when the folks from Porthy come up to fuck around in the ruins and look around or make out or whatever, the closest they get to this part is just they might come in this room and maybe some kids have figured out that magnetic trick that they can do or fucked around or whatever, but you guys actually had to break through those 2 doors there. They were locked. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Reeve
So
has no such
free.
recollection.
Well, some of you, one of you, all of you, but remember that.
Door was open when you got here.
So let's talk about this. It's the 12th day of summer. I think you entered the ruins at basically first light, right? And you've been in there 430 minutes. So you've been in there for 7 hours or so.
Dang.
7 hours and 10 minutes.
So I'll just call it 7 hours. Meaning that I could give you today as a day of rest if all you did for the rest of the day was rest, but you're planning on burying that body and all sorts of shit, so we'll say that that would pretty much take up the rest of the day. And then if you want to start fully resting to try to get HP back, that will have to start the next day, the 13th day of summer. Make sense?
Yeah, Reap didn't bury the last elf. He's not burying this one.
So yeah, what I'd like you guys to do is, let's see, let me check something. So what we'll do is role play out the. Let me do something real quick here for myself. I know Bean takes good notes, but I want to make a note to myself that we progress to the 13th day of summer. Or we will be. Actually, no, I shouldn't bother. Bean's notes are going to have all this. I'll just rely on her. Thank you, Bean.
You are welcome.
You're the
You can
greatest.
pull up my note page if you want to reference it.
That's all good. I'll be able to remember it for now. But what I'd like you guys to do is go ahead and role play out the rest of the 12th day of summer. If you guys went in at like, call it 4 a.m. real adventure hours, then it's probably like 10 a.m., right? Or it's probably about, let's call it about noon right now. Like noon. So you went in when dawn was coming up. You come out when the sun is high in the sky. It is summer, you know. Say the weather's nice, calm, chill. It's a bright, sunny day. despite the dungeoneering. But role play out the rest of the day for me in that, tell me what y'all do. If you're doing something together, role play out a scene, bring a little of that dungeon world spice into it. But what we can do is, for ease of the dungeon, why don't you line your minis up along where you'd be entering this room from, for when we return to the dungeon. And I guess what we can do, just to put it in our mind, is I can put us on the grid map here. I'm warping. Okay. So I'll probably have to warp you guys over to the location, right? So let's get the mindset. 12th day of summer, bright sunny day. You've emerged from a full morning's work in the dungeon. And you're just stepping out into the collapsed ruins areas around where, kind of to put it in your mind's eye, you're essentially exploring a one-story ruin. Probably like 8-9 foot ceiling maybe. And it's kind of like a tumble down collapse from something that was once greater. Like maybe there were higher levels, but they've all just collapsed and spilled all around the area. You're just checking out what's left. There's even trees growing up through parts of it, bushes and grass all over the place, and you're, stepping through the debris kind of clanks and clinks underneath your feet. There's like cobblestone and maybe a little piece of iron or something that was once an archway. And right now you're all stepping out into the sun. So what happens in that moment? Two of you are carrying a body.
Darcy would set the body down gently with Roland, maybe near the mule.
Well, let's
Grab
say the
the-
mule is probably like 100, 200 yards out from the actual ruins itself. You have them like chilling, hobbled in the trees themselves. The terrain that you're in are like forested hills. So I doubt you'd have the mule right there. That'd be a bit dangerous. I bet you'd have it a few hundred yards away, hobbled in the trees.
Then she and Roland would probably set the body near where Zinvin's grave is. And Darcy.
And that's another one where I would imagine that would be a few hundred yards out in the trees somewhere.
Yeah, and Darcy would grab the shovel off the mule and bring it back and start to dig a grave.
I guess what I was asking is, in that moment, do you guys interact with each other in any way to like know what your plans are, or do you guys have psionics and I don't know about it?
No, Reap's gonna be following Darcy because he's still questioning and trying to talk to them.
I think that once they set the body down, Milas would grab the shovel and start digging because he feels obligated to help.
So you all travel to the mule together. Is that what you're saying? Do your characters like, you're just in silence, I would say, in that case?
As we walk out there, but I'm following because going to inquire once we get out there.
Well, fortunately, I'm nice,
Okay.
so your mule, where it's hobbled and everything, seems to be good to go.
For now.
Always for now. Well, role
And
play it
so
up. If
as
y'all want to earn
Darcy
them
starts to
bonus
break
XP,
ground.
they're not free.
As Darcy starts to break the ground and start overturning the earth, Reap still kind of questions, like, I've lived among man for all my life, and their customs are still a bit different, and I haven't really run into elves ever, but regardless of such, they tend to just bury them, and then they if they can afford it, they will consecrate the graves so they can ascend to heaven. But none of this ever made any sense to me. I mean, a real man dies in battle and he's carried off by the gods after that. Why is it that you feel the need to bury this one, not knowing them, having no means of consecrating their grave either?
It sounds like we fast forward a bit of time to when they're actually burying the body near where they buried their compatriot Zimvin. As far as being dark or light out, right now it would still be light out. We're in summertime. I would say it's a while past high noon. So it's a bright sunny day. I imagine you would have buried your compatriot Zimvin somewhere with a nice view up on a hill, surrounded by trees. So since we're here at the scene where you're burying and Reap has asked this question, role play it out, but also describe to me what it looks like. Did you leave a marker on Zimvin's grave? You doing the same for this one? What do your characters look like? If this was like a Renaissance painting, how would it be composed? What do you, is there, like, I haven't even heard a little description of what your characters look like ordinarily in a while. Like, what are they wearing? What are they carrying? What does it look like? So this is a good time for that, too. Give me slather me in some lore. Start with Milas.
So Milas has broken the ground where the grave is, and I would think we buried Zinvin like under a tree near a hill, just so he would be close to nature. That is important to elves. So we would break ground in a similar spot. If there is a marker, it's very crude, because we don't have that great of tools. But he's, taken off his cloak and he's rolled his sleeves up and he's ready to start digging and get into the act of burying this person he didn't even know. And while Reap is questioning him on the elven traditions, he's just going to say, we don't know the circumstances that this person died under. You don't know if they fought valiantly and were knocked unconscious and then tortured to death. You don't know anything about this person, so we need to give them the respect that they deserve and bury them alongside their kin.
And I imagine the conversating is going on as y'all are doing the work and the necessary preparations.
Right.
Let me try to find an ambience while you guys are talking.
He kind of like, as we're standing there talking, he kind of leans up against puts his back up against one of the nearby trees and is still watching them. He seems still befuddled. He just kind of remarks it, and that's the reason that you don't know if they need to be honored, because you didn't know them. You can't tell how they died. They're out here alone. They clearly weren't cut out for it. Who's to say that all this work is worth it?
Darcy turns to Reap. She's
Wish I had a shovel sound too. That's like.
She's all scratched and bruised up all over her body. The sweat and the blood are mixing as she works in the hot summer sun to dig a grave.
Yeah.
She turns to Reap and she says, all elves are from the earth, and from the earth they should return, regardless of circumstance. And then she gives him a little shrug and says, there's strength in softness, too.
Your contradictory words confuse me.
Darcy gives no further explanation. She just keeps digging her grave.
Beautiful scene. So, the rest of what y'all need to do is going to be manage your inventories. Decide what goes on the mule, what you're continuing to keep, what maybe you're taking off the mule and bringing into the forest ruins. So do that next, and again, feel free to talk it out. You don't really have to roleplay that necessarily, unless there's like aspects that would be roleplay wise, like if someone has something they're trying to keep secret or what have you. But I would handle that part next.
Well, as they all shuffle over to the cart of the mule, Reap kind of pitches in. I'm not entirely sure, as we began our agreement, how I said before that you reap what you sow, but I'm definitely here to take what I can get. But as far as this thing, and then he pulls out the...
Yeah, you guys should, during this scene, also be kind of role-playing out your agreement. You know what I mean? Now that there's like a lull, like maybe Darcy will try to assert her leadership more, or at least explain what's going on. Reap kind of joined in the midst. Like Milas, Roland, and Darcy came here together. Then they lost one of their compatriots, but Reap was on his own devices and saw some likely people to assist them. But this would be a good time to roleplay out your situation, let's say.
And as Reap mentions this, he reaches in and swings his bag around and rummages through the potion he put in there, and he pulls this out. Now, I have no idea what this does, nor do I know that it can kill me or make me stronger. And my mind is not one to figure this out or even know who to figure this out. So I'm leaving this to you guys. And he just holds the flask out.
Roland would probably walk up and grab it and start inspecting it. Even though he can't identify it, he'd probably look at it and see what he can see.
So, Reap says that he found this, what do you want it to be, a glass flask, let's say? Remarkably preserved over time, something shiny that a rat would drag in. Filled with a gray sparkly, like, I don't know, like like you guys don't know what mercury is, but it looks like mercury. Maybe a little sparklier than mercury. If you know how viscous mercury is, like as Reap moves it around in the flask, it like sticks up to the sides momentarily. You're looking at it to see if you know what it is, Milas?
Roland.
Oh, Roland.
I don't really expect him to be able to identify it.
I mean, in game terms, you know, or as an adventurer would know, it appears to be maybe a potion.
It was listed as unidentified potion when he found it.
He would hold on to it, but probably not drink it just yet.
He just doesn't say anything and tucks it away meekly.
Well, he's just very curious.
Does he say great,
Well,
Scott?
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, man. Well,
Roland.
What is your name?
Whoever you are.
Difficult to keep the short, fat human in line with the skinny, short elf.
The entire party is little, including Reap. Reap is 5'4". Keep this in mind. He looks like Glenn Danzig.
So, just for record-keeping purposes, the loot we currently have to divvy up amongst ourselves is a set of leather armor, the gray potion.
Well, this is where you should sort of role play a little bit too, because
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
guys
know.
haven't really come to an agreement on how you're dealing. But maybe that's what Darcy's doing. She's literally like, "Here's what we got." I'm just
Yeah.
saying though, don't feel like you have to like meta game be fair. Like, feel free to role play your character's personalities if they're being selfish, if they're trying to hide items or whatever.
I gotcha. I'm just reminding what we all have, according to my notes. A set of leather armor, the gray potion, 23 arrows. Then Reap got a gem, but I think I remember him pocketing that. He hid it. Yeah,
Yes.
you pocketed it quietly. And then the 26 copper from the occultist and the silver necklace. So Darcy would kind of start to throw what she has sort of in a pile in between all of them. Tosses out the copper and the leather armor. But she actually looks to Milas and she touches the little silver necklace of Vandria and says, "I'd want to keep this." As if he's the only other person whose opinion it would matter.
He understands.
No one else has any objection.
Reap already handed over his shiny and kind of pulls out the other copper coins. Yeah, this is what we've dug out so far. Not too much. And kind of tosses the copper into the center.
Now wait a minute. I distinctly remember you're finding some arrows. And she
Indeed. He kind of like rotates his shoulder and they're slung around his back right now. These things.
kind of gives Reap a sideward glance. "Where's your bow?"
Had to pawn that off along with the rest of my belongings to get this, and he pounds his chest against his banded mail.
"What good's those arrows to you then, to keep them on your back?"
I may not have a bow, but I know how to use them. Just gotta requisition one whenever we can find another when I get back into some civilization.
"I have a bow. You should let me use those arrows."
Indeed, you do have a bow, and you also have arrows.
"Not like those."
Indeed, these are my arrows. These are why they're different from yours.
What about a trade?
What do you propose?
Darcy scoffs. "I've nothing to trade you."
Well, how many of the arrows does Reap have?
And he kind of pulls the quiver out from behind him again and starts to thumb through him.
Unfortunately, it can't count higher than 5.
I was gonna say, well, that's another aspect other than your alignment. That's also good to keep in mind as far as guiding your role playing. Are your stats, particularly any ones that are particularly high or particularly low.
Yeah, I was gonna say his intelligence is 9, so he can only count to 10.
9's actually not that bad. Pretty good.
Not that bad, no. But
He's actually one of the smartest half orcs probably out.
He is the smartest half orc, I think, because I had to minus my intelligence because I couldn't get any higher.
Nice.
But nonetheless, he's not that smart. So give or take, there's like 15 here. But I know these arrows aren't normal arrows.
But a normal arrow versus a special arrow should be no different to you. So if you split them between your compatriot who actually has a bow, we could actually make use of them between the two, or between the 4 of us.
Aye, that's a great idea. I will give you 10 of my arrows for 10 of your arrows.
Let's not get greedy.
No, I may not be the smartest, but I know shiny is better than not shiny.
Darcy just shakes her head. She tries to implore what sense of reason Reap might have. If we're going to survive in there, these arrows should be used and not simply stored on your back. When the time comes that you find another bow, I'll return them to you.
Who knows what they do? Who knows what riches they hold? That's what I care for.
Riches won't do you any good if you're dead. Darcy shakes her head. Do you want to be buried?
I'm not dead yet.
Best to get these affairs in order while you're alive, though, so... Would you like to be buried when you do?
Only if slain in battle. If I'm ever caught or someone stabs me in the back like a coward, a curse upon their family. But let's put this to a little game then. Does anybody have any dice or coins?
You got coins.
Just the coins we have.
Or if you wanted to do, you could do like arm wrestling or something as a strength check, or
We could draw straws.
you could take turns with the bow and see who's the better archer.
Ah.
All kinds of fun things you could do.
Break the arrows like
What if magic arrows are unbreakable?
Reap doesn't know this. He just knows they're arrows that are shiny.
True.
What if they're not unbreakable and you promise to return them and you break one of them?
What if they're breakable and they have a small energetic plasma explosion when they break?
Nonetheless, I say we put this up to either a game of luck or we put this to a challenge in the dungeon.
Why not a game of skill?
The challenge in the dungeon is the game of skill.
Yeah, I like the
Why
sound
do-
of that.
Why do it in the dungeon? Darcy points at a tree about, maybe about 50 or 60 yards off.
Why do it in the dungeon?
Well, at
Is
least
it-
hear out this game of skill in the dungeon. Let's make it a little fun.
Well, what is the game you're proposing?
How about this? For every 2 kills that you get, I'll give you 5 of these arrows.
Let me make sure I understand the terms of your game correctly. You're saying, should I kill 2 of anything in the dungeon, I'd get 5 arrows
Indeed.
as reward?
But here's the catch. There has to be 2 kills above my own.
So if you get 2 kills, you're winning. But if he gets a kill, then you need another to stay ahead. Or if he grabs 2 kills as well, then you'd need 2 to get up. So as long as you have 2 on him, you're good. You're
And
basically playing like horse, but you got to beat him by 2.
What happens when you have 2 kills above mine?
Well, you seem pretty akin to that little necklace there for whatever reason.
Darcy
Let's say-
scoffs.
What a bastard! This is great. How come you guys are role playing so deep in the not RP heavy game, and then
As an orc.
but it's so good? Continue.
Let's say if I beat you by a large margin of, let's say, we'll say I beat you by 5 kills or more. I take that.
So let me make sure I understand your proposal. Darcy says again very patiently because Reap's not too smart. She wants to make sure we're all on the same page.
What's Darcy's intelligence?
It's 9.
You're exactly
Same.
the same
10.
smart. You're
10.
one
She's
smart
one
better.
point smarter, and she's gonna hold it to him. So, you're proposing next time we enter the dungeon that when we're done with our exploration and we come back to rest, at that time, if I have 2 kills or more above yours, I win 5 arrows. If you have 5 kills or more above mine, you win this necklace. Is that your proposal?
I thought it was every 2 kills over his.
Yeah, so you can get a bundle of arrows, or the entire thing, if you didn't.
So if you came out with 4 kills up on him, he'd give you 10.
From our total dungeon exploration, our next couple hours in the dungeon.
Yeah, let's see what we come out with after the end of the next day.
The wager.
All right.
Roland clears his throat and says,
That's what I'm saying. Roland's the recorder, so is he here in the background, like writing this all down? Like, here are the exact terms of the wager.
He's writing the terms down. He looks up from his book and he says, "Sleeping kills don't count."
I agree. Sleeping kills don't count. They only count for the marks upon my body.
Darcy gives a kind of a funny look to Neelis and Roland. They can't tell she's being serious or not. She just says, "Don't put him to sleep then."
Only when you're ahead.
And she holds out her hand to Reap to shake on it.
Reap kind of hawks one up and spits in his hand and goes to shake hers.
Ugh. Yes. Darcy is slightly disgusted, but she'll do the same.
There you go.
She
May
does
the
like
best
a little,
warrior win.
like a little girly pachoo in her hand.
Now, while you're sitting here role playing it out, what about the because I imagine you guys are having this conversation while you're offloading whatever onto, what's the mule's name?
I do not know.
Who's got the mule sheet?
I don't think we have a mule sheet.
Yeah, you do.
It was Dagnar's.
I think it's Zeus. This is the mule man.
I definitely do not have a sheet for the mule.
Yeah, there's not a sheet for the mule in this game.
Well, where do you keep track of what's on them?
I think on our individual character sheets, we were just marking when the stuff that is ours is on the mule.
Yeah, but how do you know when what's the mule's capacity and everything?
I've got all that logged in the spreadsheet.
Got it. So have you guys sorted what you have in your personal inventories and what you have? Just the one mule, right?
Correct.
Do you have what you've loaded onto your mule and everything sorted out? Like, do you have things in your inventory you'd like to store on the mule, or are there things currently stored on the mule that you would like to add to your inventory for your next excursion?
I'm just going to refresh torches on Roland, I think.
Well, I'm saying go ahead and handle that stuff right now, too. I imagine that's what your characters are doing while you're conversating. And roleplay-wise, y'all should talk out during this conversation what exactly your arrangement is. I mean, Darcy's still a redeemer. She could fill y'all in on the situation. Roland may be interested in recording some details, so you might have some clarifying questions. Reap might be curious exactly what the relationship is here, what the setup is, who's in charge, what's going on, why you're here, why he's here, you know, that sort of good shit.
I'm just taking notes. The only loot that we haven't officially divvied out is the leather armor and the 26 copper.
Do you guys just store that in the old... name the mule, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, Reap tossed the 13 copper you found in that cultist into the pile when Darcy was tossing the stuff down. So that is divvied into the general pool of whatever.
Well,
And,
Darcy would offer it to Roland or Milas, since it's not much, but
Their first paycheck.
it's a cut of something.
They'll take it, split it amongst each other, and then whisper to one another and shake hands where they're making a bet on who's going to win the challenge.
Nice.
Between Darcy and Reed.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, so that's all accounted for. And then
so is the
maybe
potion on
else.
Roland now? And go ahead and delete this off my sheet.
Yeah. Was it 0 weight or 1 weight?
1.5.
Do your characters discuss why they're there, their motivations, what the adventuring company setup is, etc.? You can metagame it some too, but it's just cooler if you do it in character.
Yes. I'm catching up on some notes right now, though.
Okay. Just on the time thing, we're about an hour and a half. At 2 hours, we'll take a little break just to get away from the computer for a sec. But I figured we'd probably play 4 hours or so is what I reckon we'd wind up wanting to play. If you guys are still having fun, then we can always keep going. But I figure we'll go till about that'd be like 5 o'clock for me, and then see where we're at there. That sound good?
Yep.
Alright. So here in about a half hour, we'll take a little intermission if you need a drink or stretch or whatever. That'll be 2 hours. Role play it out. Does Reap share it all while he's there, or does Darcy kind of try to check in with everybody as maybe she still views herself as the leader? She is the only redeemer. Milas and Roland are technically hired, though they're equal partners. As far as the agreement that you made, if I remember. Reap just kind of showed up, so he's not really in the hierarchy. You got a lawful neutral elf, a lawful neutral fighter, a lawful neutral fighter, and a chaotic good. They're called magic users in this, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bada boom.
Well, Darcy would share with Reap that she's there not so much for loot, but the daughter of a local man out in Porthy who's gone missing. And she gives another little shrug and says, "It makes no difference to me if the girl's alive or dead, but if I bring her back, I might get to take this thing off." And she kind of shakes her shackle around on her wrist that marks her as a redeemer.
Reap just sees a single unchained shackle. Why don't you just take it off now?
Darcy says, "I can't."
You're not chained or bound to anything. Why can't you?
Because this marks me in the eyes of men as being a redeemer. If I'm not doing what the men ask me to do to redeem myself in their eyes, they'll kill me.
I've heard
Plus-
tales of redeemers, but never seen one with my own eyes.
She kind of gives like a sour look. She says, "I could never return home with this thing on my arm."
Roland again, looking up from his notebook, says, "What exactly did you do to become a redeemer?"
Darcy says, "I didn't do anything except protect my home."
And
All your characters would be well aware of at least the basics of kind of the Sublime War and all that.
And where is home?
Darcy kind of gives another little shrug and says, a forest that I don't know where it is from here. When I was brought here, they covered my face as we traveled. I have no idea where I am in relation to my home.
He shrugs himself and says, maybe we'll have to go find that when you are free.
Darcy says I plan on it. And then she kind of fills Reap in on Milas and Roland. She says these two we found at the tavern I found in the, or we, she says we actually, and she kind of like points to Zinvin's grave vaguely. We found at the tavern in Porthy. We agreed to party up. They're looking for something in particular they may not be happy for you to take from them.
And what is it these two are looking for?
A spell book. I doubt you can even read.
I can read, thank you. I was the owner of a shop. I can hope I can at least read and write in my ledger.
Probably even fucks with a little math.
Little basic algebra.
Up to 10.
Little arithmetic. So how does Reap respond? How does he see himself fitting into this situation?
Well, spellbook, local's daughter. None of this makes me money. Well, maybe the spellbook, but I don't know who that goes to. Or who would even buy this. I'll leave that up to you guys.
The ruins certainly make money.
Indeed. I'm here to find some more challenging fights and games, and it seems like it's already been an interesting one in this little decrepit place. But I'm just here to make my name and fame and glory.
Does Reap feel like staying with these folks?
Well, he's got to play out his bet.
Nice. So, I feel like
So
maybe
I would
it's too early for you guys to name your adventuring company. What do you think?
Yeah.
Or has the name floated to mind? Or would you even, your characters want to name it at this point?
Darcy likes you guys, but she doesn't like you.
Well, the other thing is, I always thought that Redeemer plotline would only be temporary with how much death there is in Old School. But it is a nice backdrop for the campaign either way. But from what it sounds like, you'd definitely be interested in a future module where you go and find where you're from. Darcy, right?
Yeah.
Some elf shit.
Elf shit.
That's really the only one I've heard. I've been trying to listen for hooks I can use. Have there any that I missed? Or is that the only one you guys have really heard too?
Well, with the way I'm going, you can definitely set up like bounties or other things. Like in other stories where there's like an insane like a large group of things. Not necessarily an arena, because I did say like in my little description it is more.
I'm talking kind of something specific that ties right into the roleplay. Like, yeah, you've definitely made it easy to motivate Reap. But for instance, like, I could write a module around the quest to go find Darcy's homeland. You feel me? That's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm just seeing if I've missed something that maybe one of you guys tried to bring to my attention in the roleplay so far that I missed.
Any like elusive or iconic enemy, Reap would definitely like a trophy.
Okay, so a trophy hunt. Yep.
My plot hooks came and went when both my dwarves died to a dwarf raiding party. So I'm
You're just
straight
going with the
out.
flow right now. I mean, this module still has quite a bit to it because I incorporated all the elements that we talked about in the campaign planning session to come. But anyhow, so you guys kind of have a loose confederation right now. The last bit is, let's try out this nighttime ambience. I'm trying to find a good one. That's what you need in your life. I'm so glad I started using this. Are you guys enjoying using the Roll20 sounds?
Yeah, I like it.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that's a good. Alright, how do you feed yourselves that evening? And by that I mean go ahead and mark off your rations.
Mm-hmm.
Did you name the poor mule?
Poco, P-O-C-O.
Okay.
Yeah, Poco.
Okay.
He had a name before, but it's not in any of the notes, and I didn't record it myself. So
And then
I thought he had a character sheet.
I did too.
But where is he?
I can give you a sheet if you want to make a character sheet for the poor bastard. I'm sure there's mule stats even. You want a sheet? I'm giving you one. Who wants control of it? Zeus?
I mean, I'm already running too.
That's true.
So it was another campaign.
Darcy
that we
takes
had.
hella notes though. Miller, you gotta be in charge of the mule, man. Sorry.
All right.
Everyone can see the mule, but Miller's in charge of it. And you should give him a little picture and everything, please. I see that on the character now, there's an option to use selected token, where you can set a token for yourself. Is that the truth?
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then I think you can just drag our names onto a sheet. And
And it'll use whatever token you picked out?
I don't think we can set that. I think
I have to set it? Okay. I'll be sure to do that for you guys. And then I can drag your name and it just plops a character sheet for you out there. We'll have to try that out. If it's buggy, I'm not going to do it. I'd rather do it manually because it's quick. But if it works good, I'll do it. There's Poco. Miller, you got control of him. I'll put him down with the player characters. How about that?
Oh, okay, there it is.
Let's see. Yeah, and he's got a character sheet, so you can even give him stats and everything. Because I'm sure there's a mule entry in the monster book if you take a look at some point, but you don't really need to worry about it. This might be something to write in when you're bored one day. It'll only really come up to play if something's trying to snack on your mule. Maybe Reap forms a quick bond with Poco. And they're like, you know, he likes him better than the party. He talks to him instead. He's like over to the side showing Poco the gym. He's like, look what I fucking...
He was putting stuff on the mule. And he's like,
Yo, by the way, real quick lawful neutral question. So Reap is cool with stealing. That's
I
like-
stole from a rat.
Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're gonna be a lawful neutral character and you're gonna follow a non-traditional code, then you gotta, even if it's just like a few sentences or a few little bullet points, you gotta like hook me up on your character sheet some lore, like
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll write it on there.
just so I have an idea like what's cool and what isn't cool.
I was kind of talking to Bean about it pregame, but I'm kind of playing more towards the orc side, but with more the personality of like Krogan.
I got it. Nice.
That's why in this challenge, I'm like, if you can beat me, you can take this stuff.
So you want me to have there be a magical disease that only affects orcs?
Well, I'm half orc, so I mean, I guess I'm half good.
Right on. So yeah, make sure you marked off the food. We got the mule taken care of. All I gotta do here is roll for your encounters for the evening. And so we were doing 2 checks per night. The night of the 12th day of summer passes peacefully. We're in the 13th day of summer. Now, is the plan to rest and try to heal? Is this what we're up to?
Yes.
Okay, so let's double check healing. And I think there's no updates to that in the advanced, so we just gotta check the...
All beings recover hit points for each full day of complete rest. 1d3.
Thanks for looking that up. That helps a ton. So each day you rest completely, you get 1d3 back. Is that affected by anything? By constitution or anything?
No, this kind of healing is instantaneous. That's all the more that it says.
Okay. So to get that, you have to only rest, right? You could prepare spells, that's fine. But aside from that, and you gotta mark off food. And here's the tricky part: we gotta test for encounters to see if you can get your rest. Do you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be doing that.
But we have to rest a full day, so does that mean we're resting all of day 13?
It is a full day, right, Miller? I believe it is.
Yeah,
it says
for each full day of complete rest.
Got it. So day 13 is spent convalescing in the forested hills outside of the ruins. And I'm checking for your random encounters for the day right now. Woo-hoo-hoo. Uh-oh, guys. You might not get that rest. Well, the healing is instantaneous, but I assume it happens at the end of the day of rest.
Yeah, if the rest is interrupted, the character or monster will not heal that day.
we might be able to avoid the encounter, though. And
So
still rest.
Yeah, so I'm hoping. Let's see what it is, and then we'll also check the distance on it. So that was the daytime check, which is good. Let's see what it is. Okay. Woohoo. Okay. Well, this is one where we might not go to the grid as long as it happens far enough away. So it takes place 210 yards away. That's pretty far. Okay. Who wants to check for surprise on y'all's side?
Poco.
Do it, Poco.
Okay. And it was on a 1 or a 2 you are surprised, right? Believe so. Yep.
Are you rolling it, Miller?
So you're not surprised? They're not surprised. Now, the other thing is there's some rules specifically about this that I need to double check. Let me check those. Let me switch to the daytime sound too. There we go. Didn't you feel the sun come up in your mind just now? Motherfucker, where was it? It's probably... Here we go, here we go. Unfortunately... Remember that big-ass group of orcs? They're still roaming around, and unfortunately, they're not surprised like last time. Fortunately, they're super far away, right?
When you say big ass group of orcs, how many orcs are we talking about here?
Well, remember last time you were able to count 50, and it appears to have grown. I mean, I'll describe it a little more eloquently once I get it all in my mind. I'm just getting familiar real quick with the running away rules here. Alright, so, the rules that we'll be using here momentarily are on page 52 in Labyrinth Lord, Chases in the Wilderness. But, who's on watch? Do you want to roll randomly, or does someone just want to be on watch? Let's just roll randomly. There's 4 of you. We'll roll it in the order of how you appear on the character sheet, and boom. It is Darcy's watch. So how does Darcy take her watch? Describe what she looks like.
Well, she gets up in the trees.
Of course.
And, keeps watch sitting out on a branch.
Got it. So, she sees. Fuck. Some 210 yards away, she's able to count the heads of some 60 orcs. She recognizes some of them from the warband that you were able to evade earlier. However, this time, they've spotted Darcy up in the tree, and you're gonna have to run.
Is there no way mechanically to hide?
Nah.
Okay.
Unfortunately. That's kind of one of the drawbacks of first edition versus later editions.
That's kind of our only option.
It's kind of based on the surprise roll, and if you didn't get that, certain classes are better at surprise, which represents them being sneakier. But those rules get kind of expanded. And for instance, like a thief can be hidden, you know, things like that. But, you know, they probably notice your camp and your mule and all the good shit. So if you look at these chases in the wilderness rules, the way it works is your fleeing group, up to 4 characters, gives you a 50% base chance to get away. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Now these rules are specifically, sometimes one group will want to escape from another group before they have come within close proximity. When 2 groups meet and one side is surprised, the other side can automatically flee, which is what happened the last time you met these guys. Otherwise, determine the probability that one group can escape from another by looking at this table. The more chasing group members there are relative to the fleeing party, the greater chances the fleeing party will escape. This is because larger groups can't move as fast or as quietly. So you've got 4 characters, that's 50%. And then there's 60 of them, which is more than 76% bigger than your group. And so you actually get another 40% chance on top of that. So you currently have a 90% chance of being able to flee and evade them by essentially just splitting up, hiding while they run by, the usual hobbitsy types of tricks. Does this all make sense so far? I know it's a little weird, but
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense, right? What I'm trying to decide is, as far as resting, I feel like this would probably fuck up your rest. Would you guys agree with that? Meaning that you're gonna have to try another day to get this rest. Does that sound fair to you guys?
Yeah.
Alright. So, the next question is, who's gonna roll this percentile dice for the escape? You need...
Roll the
You need to roll a 90% or below.
Roll that D100.
The mule's rolling. Alright.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty good. 69. So you got away with the 69. That's swagged out. I love that scene of you guys running away though. So fortunately, due to the differences in size of your group and the differences in intelligence, you're able to not only evade the orcs, draw them away from your camp so they don't take vengeance on poor Poco. You know, you kind of split up. They split up foolishly. They get confused. They miss you when you're hiding under a little ridge or in some tree roots or what have you. And fortunately, they pretty quickly give up and move along. Anyone remember what direction they were headed the last time you saw them? I know you all saw some elves sneaking out to the west. That was a cool moment. Roland saw them and just didn't do anything. He was like,
I'm looking.
I'm just curious. It doesn't really matter. It just needs to know. If we haven't. If we don't, it's fine. Let's say they're headed to the northeast this time.
Yeah, I didn't mark what direction they were going in.
So they were passing along the western side of your camp when they spotted you, and then you guys ran and scattered, and then they continued once they got tired of looking for you to the northeast, headed that direction. Capiche? Got it in your mind?
Mm-hmm.
So that fucks up your rest. Let me go ahead and test for the night of what we're on, day 13. So we got boom. Okay. You guys are in Encounter City, boy.
It's cool. We've already lost our rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, resting out here is kind of dangerous, isn't it?
If you haven't already, mark off a ration for day 13 too.
Yeah, make sure you're taking care of that. Let's do... Because we're about to take a little intermission here, but I gotta go ahead and roll some stuff about this encounter. So it's like 110 yards. Write this down real quick. It's crazy how much I just keep in my head when I DM. I remember back in the day, I'd be writing so many little notes, and now I'm just like, like a psionicist. I'm writing some stuff down because we're about to take a break. So metagame, I'll just tell you what the... Nah, you probably don't want me to. You probably don't want me to. You probably want it to be a secret. Now that I think about it. Why don't one of you guys roll a d4 to determine whose watch it is? This one occurred on the last check for the 13th. So fortunately, the 13th is over after this encounter. We'll move on to the 14th and try again.
Haha, I beat you to it.
What'd you roll there?
I rolled a 2.
Wait, Roland rolled before you.
Oh, really? On my screen, I popped up before Roland.
He rolled a 3. So I'll make it Reap's watch. Alright. And he's got infravision, don't he? Do he? Miller there.
Wait, what?
Does Reap have infravision?
Yes.
Because this is happening on his watch.
Oh, I saw Roland's before. Oh, yeah, that is right.
This late night encounter on the 13th night of summer. You want to roll through surprise, Reap? Roll a d6 and try not to get a 1 or 2. Ooh, good. So you're not surprised. They're not surprised. Okay, so you're going to notice at the same time. What's the like farthest range of your senses, I guess? Like if you have infravision, how far out does it go? What's the range?
60 feet.
60 feet? Okay. So that would be 20 yards. Got it. Secondly, let me see if I can pull this up real quick before the little intermission here. I'm just making sure I have all the data I need for the encounter before the intermission. Got it. So, the farthest senses really Reap would have at night would be 20 yards out. His infravision, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then let me check one last thing before we go to intermission here. This is probably going to be an encounter that we gotta potentially fight it out. There's... what else? Got it. Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and move us over to the hex mat. I think we've even got a mule on this thing. Somewhere. Yeah, we've got actually Rip Zinvin's on there.
Boza, not Poco. We did find the name.
There you go. See, it's Boza, you motherfuckers.
We renamed him to Poco.
Okay. Zeus had control of him, so now I give it to Miller. Change his name. I think you even rolled up his HP, but Miller, you'll want to double check the stats on mules. Thank you. We delete Zinvin. He's dead as hell. Might as well go ahead and try to set Reap's token. Here we go. Let's try this. Let's select one on the tabletop to use as default token. So let me go here. Sorry about all this. I just want to get it done before we take intermission so we can jump right into the encounter. We'll go who to who. Oop, didn't mean to hit cancel there. Oh, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, what happens if I come over to Reapimus and just drag his name out here? Oh, there he is. How cool is that?
Saves his HP.
So there you go, Reap. You're there. I would assume you would have the campfire off at night, late night. Eh? Since you got infravision?
Yeah, if they're sleeping and I'm the only one up.
Okay. During the intermission, your mission is to draw some trees and foresty hill type terrain. It doesn't have to be very much. Reap, if you have a aura of your infravision, remember if it's 60 feet, that's going to translate to 20 yards. And I don't think there's yards on here. I think this is units or some weird shit, but this should be yards. So you want 20. That's what 60 feet is. 3 feet is a yard. That way we'll know, because basically this encounter you won't notice it till it's in the range of your infravision. And then when we come back, we're going to play the encounter. I got the details. That'll be the last encounter on the 13th. We'll be moving on the 14th, or hopefully won't get encounters, or get encounters you maybe can that are friendly or something. And then you'll be able to rest. What you're learning as old school players right now is resting out in the wilderness is dangerous. Like that money you pay to rest somewhere safe, or the time you put in to have a safe place to rest is definitely well worth it, right?
Well, I mean, the one time we rested in Civilization, we were attacked too, so...
Not true. You rested several other times after that once you got your pesky... Listen, you put it in your background that you're the son of a deposed king, okay? You were begging for that. You were begging for that. Plus, I had to teach you how the fights worked. I had to show you... I had to take those hirelings away, you know? I had to show you how dangerous it was to fall off things at level 1. Because you could just break your neck and die. But now you know all that stuff, right? Anyhow, let's take a little intermission. It's been over 2 hours. We'll come back. We'll probably do at least 2 more hours here. We'll check in there, see how we're feeling. But let's take a little break. I'm going to shut off the sound too in the moment. So when we come back, it'll be nighttime. Let's see, turn that off. Be back with y'all in just a bit. Alright. Everything's going good. Appreciate everybody chilling so far. It is the O Show. 2 hours in. We're enjoying some 1980s style pen and paper role playing. A system called Labyrinth Lord. We're going through a little module I wrote for this campaign. The campaign's for King and Country. The module's called The Lost Temple. The party's attempting to rest up. They've got a late night encounter with some enemies we're going to sort out once we return. But y'all should take a break too. I know you've been hanging out, enjoying. You're already supporting the show in the best way by tuning in, relaxing. If you want to chip in, you can do so in all the regular ways. But the best way is to tune in. So I'm glad y'all are here. We'll meet back momentarily. The adventure will continue. Be back in a bit. Thanks for your patience. Hope you took care of yourself. It is the Osha. Glad y'all are here. Hope your week's going good. We're gonna get back into For King and Country number 5. Some 1980s style pen and paper role playing. I'm loving it. Let's get back to it. Greetings. You make camp near where you buried the bodies? That's fucked up.
Hmm?
You guys are camping near...
I didn't even see those graves.
So you've got a aura on Reap, and that is 20 yards out from him?
Yeah, there's 20 units.
Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and get some tokens here. Let me go ahead and assign these little bastards some HP. Is everybody back? Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Assign an HP real quick. Oof. I know this is slow, but I just love rolling the physical dice. Roll 20 is pretty badass, you know? Is there any spooky shit about elves needing to sleep less or something? Or I'd assume everybody's asleep but Reap right now. Though he can, you know, scream and wake everybody up pretty easily. Okay. Let me place these now where you would see them. At the edge of your vision. You wouldn't be able to see that from over here. How's that looking? Fun?
Frogs? How dangerous could frogs be?
Well, these frogs are 2 feet long. It's the late.
Play dark?
It's the yeah, exactly. If you play dark, it's the late night of the 13th night of summer. Could even be the witching hour. Reap's on watch. The rest of the party's sleeping, including the mule. The mule stubbornly likes to lay near the fire. And doesn't let anyone else really near it. Reap, describe, I haven't really gotten cool descriptions of you guys tonight yet. I've been meaning to try to angle it in. So here, let's do this. Give me a description of Reap on watch and include the battle equipment that he actually has. If that makes sense.
All right, yeah. Well, Reap's just kind of sat among the bushes just a little ways from camp. He's sitting there. He was sharpening his sword and just using.
So he fights with a sword.
He fights with a long sword.
Okay.
And he's got his shield kind of propped up again.
What type of shield?
It's just
like game was. What type of shield game was?
A shield.
Are there multiple types, or is it just called shield?
No, it's just shield.
All right.
But Reap carries a buckler, or not a buckler, but a targe.
Got it. About armor.
He's clad in a banded mail. As I said before, he sold his rights to his shop and kind of gathered the best equipment that he could manage to get his hands on. So he's equipped with a banded mail, a shield, and a long sword of quality made.
Does he wear a helmet?
Yep. He does, of course. Everyone wears a helmet in war.
What does that look like?
Exposed.
Does it cover his face, his eyes, or what's it do?
Yeah, it's an open face, like a bassinet.
Got it.
It's more like a kettle helm, kind of.
Very simple. Is he wearing
Keeps
basic
his eyes
trousers?
open. He does. He just wears some simple clad. He's got like just a brown shirt, tan patched trousers. He's got some leather boots. He wears part of like one of his little prize attires. He's got a silver buckle a girdle or a belt that he wears.
Nice.
And he has a wolf pelt clad around, so the wolf's head is along his left shoulder. He wears that pelt that he killed.
There
of
you go.
A brown wolf.
Now,
It was a particular for some opponent.
does he wear gloves?
He does not.
Okay.
Simple hand wraps.
So if you get close enough, you can tell that he's half orc by his pigmentation if you see his hands or if you see his face, right? Does he have a
Yeah.
beard? Or does he take time to shave?
He keeps his face clean shaven. His hair is kind of messy, but he doesn't really care too much for it.
Alright, so that's Reap. Let's see. Let's say that we're in well, it'll be kind of like old school Fallout or some shit. As soon as combat starts, you instantaneously are like in combat time, right? So as Reap sees the body heat signatures of these 2-foot frogs starting to hop into the clearing, that's when combat time is going to begin, if that makes sense. No one's surprised. The only other thing to do here, I guess, is ask, would Reap maybe shout something to try to wake everybody up this round, or not yet?
Yeah, Reap's just gonna yell back, "Up on your feet, let's go."
Alright, so in that case, I'll give everybody an opportunity to jump into initiative for this first round here, and we'll do my group as all one thing. So I'm rolling their initiative out here right now.
Declare actions.
Yeah, make sure you're declaring actions as well. I mean, you can go ahead and roll your initiative, but yeah. Should be declaring your actions around the same time.
I'm moving.
Make sure you've got notated whatever spells you would have prepared in the morning and everything. This is like late night, close to the witching hour, but still technically the night of the 13th.
Would we have spells prepared though, because we weren't able to rest? Or does
I
it need
mentioned,
to be able to rest, or is it just any couple of hours?
yeah, I did mention that actually that'd be basically the only thing you could do would be to prepare your spells, since you have to actually do that during a rest anyway, if that makes sense. So there's the order there. It's going to begin. Well, first off, declare your actions. I didn't hear any declared actions.
I said move.
I heard
Yours
you.
is moving
My
and
bad.
shooting. Sorry, I had my mic muted. I didn't realize.
Okay.
Yeah, I said move and shoot.
Move and shoot, move and shoot. So, Reap. Go ahead. And remember, this is a little bit spooky, but in the wilderness, movement is measured in yards instead of feet. So like, combat movement is still 1/3 of your exploring movement. It's just that, like, what would your combat movement normally be, Reap?
30 feet. No, sorry, combat movement 10 feet.
So for combat movement in wilderness, it's 10 yards instead. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And the lore, or kind of the mechanical reason why that is when you're in the dungeon, you're in cramped quarters, you're trying to be careful, it's harder to move around. But out in the wilderness, there's a lot more space to move around and maneuver, and so you can position a lot more easy. So basically, you got it exactly right. I mean, you already understand it, but so what are you doing this turn here, or this round, Reap?
Well, after Reap kind of yells for everyone to get up, he's going to go back to the party. And he lets them know, he's like, see some jumping, what appears to be frogs, and I count at least 7 of them, if not a couple more, coming into my vision.
Remember, it's 10 seconds, so that's really all I could say. So hopefully you noted what he said well. Now, that's Reap's full turn.
Yep.
Alright, Darcy's up next.
Darcy's moving. Shoop. On her way, she's gonna stop and ask Reap, "Are you sure you don't want me to use those arrows?"
Alright, that's about all you could do in 10 seconds. Are you done moving?
I suppose so, yeah.
Okay. Next is gonna be Milas and my little minions at the same time. My little minions are simply moving. Oh, baby. So I'll be doing that while Milas takes care of his action. I'm moving them, not all necessarily their full move. I just measured out their full move, and I'm going to cluster them in here. So far, there's no natural light, by the way, so Roland can't see shit. Unless someone sees to that. Roland may. The elves and the half-orc are like, just not, they don't even think about Roland. They're just like, go. Okay. So anyone with eyes to see sees the heat signatures of these again. Imagine, just look down at your feet right now. Imagine a frog that was 2 feet long. And probably like 1.5 feet up off the ground at least. Hopping towards you. Hopping purposely towards you, by the way. At night. So, Milas, you're good? What did you do?
Moved and gonna take a ranged attack.
Oh. Go ahead and I'll just mark this so I can see it easier. Roll your attack. I'll just tell you the AC so life is easy for you. You're up against AC 8.
It should be within range, right?
You tell me. Just convert feet to yards. That's all you gotta do. And like, I don't really necessarily mean divide. Like, it just like, if you're, what's your range in feet in the dungeon?
Oh, I already moved. I was thinking in terms of the bow.
I think you can move an attack, can't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just was thinking in terms of like whether or not I can get the +1 for range, and it looks like it on that front one.
Oh. Yeah, is it within short range or not?
It is
What are you shooting
5
with?
yards. It's a short bow.
Short bow. Short range is up to 50, in this case, yards.
Okay.
Farther than you can see.
Does that hit versus AC8?
Yes.
Just look at the attack table and let me know.
Yeah, need to beat an 11.
And then roll your damage. And you want it to hit this little bastard? I'd say that'd be the one you had the main line of sight on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Double check my bow damage.
Now your bow doesn't have like a higher rate of fire or anything where you can be shooting faster, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think in second edition they can shoot like twice a round, or that's the difference between short bows and long bows or something. It might be worth taking a quick peek at.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
Maybe under equipment or something. But maybe not. Maybe that's not something they add till later. Just always trying to make sure y'all are taking advantage of all your abilities and stuff. Anyhow.
Yeah, don't see anything special about it, but the crossbow can only be fired a certain amount per round.
Yeah, it's slow. So you want to do 3 damage to this guy here.
Yep.
Milos sees his shaft throbbing with oh, it's a different game. Sail into the evening through the space between the 2 stands of trees, and he sees it collide with the silhouette of the frog he can make out. It seems to hit it somewhere in the neck, and it kind of flops as if it's very wounded. He catches it as the whole herd, you could say, are hopping gleefully toward where the party is located. And they keep kind of leaning back a little bit too, and kind of tasting the air with their tongues. So then that'll be the final step, will be Roland here on round 1. What's Roland do?
He's going to move towards Poco and start to unlash him from whatever they have him tied to and start to think about moving him.
So he's escorting Poco away from the battle?
Yeah.
What a good guy. Alright. So, declare your actions first.
Move and attack.
Moving and shooting.
Moving and shooting and moving.
Okay. Now roll your initiatives. Alright, Milos is gonna start off here.
a clear shot.
Yes, sir. Hold up, dude, one more time. Yeah, that is. If you were like one hex over, I'd give him a little bonus for concealment or some shit. But nice. And that's why you needed to hit AC 8, right?
Yeah, meets the 11.
Alright, roll your damage. That one, right?
Yes.
That one catches the frog at rest. You catch it in the good meat, the thigh. But it doesn't seem too bothered by it, almost as if it's experiencing some sense of orgiastic glee at the scent of what's in the air. Or the taste, you could say. So that'll be Roland up next.
So
I'm
should I
sure
put up a torch to be able to see.
Well, so here's how it works. Roland can kind of see enough by moon and starlight. Just imagine what it looks like without light pollution. Though you are in a forest, so it is pretty fucking dark. He can see enough, his eyes adjust to get around. He could lead the mule and everything, not really be at risk. But if he were to try to fight or something, he would definitely have penalties.
Yeah, I don't think he's fighting anything.
Got it. But yeah, I mean, because if I imagine it when I've been out in the woods and stuff, you'd be able to see enough to lead a mule without anything.
Yeah, he's gonna lead him down past the meatless.
He's probably sitting there muttering to himself like, fucking demi-humans. And I'm sure the mule's faster than you, so really you're at Roland's speed.
You move Pogo next to me.
I think Miller has control of it.
Oh yeah, sorry. I forgot that I was doing that.
All good. Next up's gonna be Reap. I think I can move him too, right? There you go. I got it. Hey, what up,
Okay,
Viper?
there he is. I was looking for Roland to find him.
Hope you're doing good, man. What's up with Reap? Round 2.
And as Reap knows that being outnumbered and surrounded in any case is no way to charge in headlong and survive. So he takes a step back, draws the dagger from his belt, and he's gonna fling it at the only frog that he can kind of make out.
Is that within range for you?
It's within short range. If everything's being translated, yeah.
Yeah,
I could
so
throw
if
a
it's
dagger up to 90 feet. But I'm within short
let me
range.
take a
so
look.
I'm good.
Missile ranges. Thrown dagger. So up to 10 yards would be short range.
Yeah, short range.
And then the maximum you could throw it would be up to 30 yards. You could do that.
Yeah.
You're a fucking strong ass orc.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking of, like 90 feet. These are fucking daggers. Like,
So you could, so that front line of them would be short range for the dagger, but anything past would just be normal.
I'm pinging for this one here.
Okay. So just to make it easy for you, it's AC 8. Hope your week's going well, Viper. We've been broadcasting some 1980s style pen and paper for about 3 hours now. We're going to go at least another hour here. Assume that's a miss.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can I get a little token too?
Yeah, give a token for the dagger, and I'm going to roll to see if it's broken or destroyed. Just like I do ammo. It actually is.
Frog eats it.
The Reap misses and the dagger careens off a rock embedded in the stony hills of the forest hills. The blade snaps clean off. You can hear it happen. And he curses himself. That's Reap done, right?
Yep.
Uh-oh.
So Reap doesn't give the arrows to Darcy?
I'm already 10 yards away. 3 yards.
Uh-oh.
Just stand next to him and pull him from his quiver and start shooting him.
I think Darcy's gonna get chewed on a little bit. What if Darcy dies right here?
That'd be a bummer.
That's old school.
Aren't there rules for running away from encounters like this?
We just did one, yeah.
So it's the same? I
Yeah,
understand.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, we just didn't bother to go into the hex map. I gotcha.
Yeah, because I assumed y'all would flee. You could try to flee on this one if you wanted to as well.
It would follow the same rules because of how big the enemy party is. So you get a 90% chance to flee.
Correct. But nobody wanted to.
Except Darcy, now that she faces certain death.
It was definitely Reap's intention, but I didn't get enough time to even say so.
Well, you could have said it right at the beginning too, but it seemed like you guys wanted to fight it out. That would be 7. Sorry, that's 8, 9. That's 8, so I have. Perfect. Uh-oh. That's 9 to that one. And 11 to there. Melis and Roland are like, well, we're in charge now. So, let's go. Yeah, you could definitely make it here. Darcy, Reap, I'm sorry. You're about to get eaten by frogs. How's it feel?
Feels bad, man.
It's still possible that you'll survive the rolls. Yep. He can hop right here. 2-foot killer frogs. This is not Darcy's best day. All right. The frogs, desperate for meat, Move in. Think they get to move and attack. I'm checking though to see. One quick thing to make sure it's fair. All right. You ready for me to roll some attacks?
Let's go.
Okay.
Darcy's armor class is 6.
That's also the number of frags attacking Darcy.
So, what is Darcy's armor class? You said 6?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you believe that these get 3 attacks apiece?
What?
Would you believe that?
No, I wouldn't believe that. I think you're cheating.
3 attacks with -5.
Well, they're not very strong attacks, but they get 3 of them apiece. Thought you meant old school's deadly. So, just gonna start with the one to the left there. Mentally keep track here. The first frog, this one, does whiff completely. Now they're coming at you. Now that they're a little closer, you can't see great detail since you're still using infravision, but these frogs seem to be a little more brutal and carnivorous than your average frog. They have sharp, jagged, almost shark-like teeth embedded in their little frog mouths. They're 2 feet long. You know, they're like muscular, like pit bulls almost. And their web feet, their front ones and their back, have these like wicked curving claws coming out of them as well. So, the one I just pinged attempts to claw at and bite Darcy. She's able to fend it off. Let's check some of these others here. Alright. The next one right here whiffs entirely. They don't have super good odds to hit you, but they're not the worst. Let's try this next one. I'm so scared for you, I'm closing my eyes before I check what the...
A question about the terrain we've drawn. Since these are like bushes and such, are we able to move in and through them? It's because you did move the frogs around, is why I'm asking.
Yeah, I would say we should be moving around them because they're like stands of trees.
Okay.
How much HP does Darcy even have?
4.
Uh-oh. So, we're on the third one, right? This one. And I think he got you here with 1 attack. The bite. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
4 HP, you say?
Mm-hmm.
He just bit you for exactly 4.
You're kidding me.
Nope. Nope.
These frogs are cheating.
You're dead. Let's see how Reap fares. Poor Darcy. Reap has 4 that can attack him. Reap, what is your AC?
3.
Okay, here we go. First one. Whiffs all. We got 1 hit on the first attack here. That one's a claw. It doesn't hit nearly as hard. You take 2 HP where a claw gets past your armor. You're still in the game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the first attack on the second one. So second attack. Third attack. I think he's about to kill you. He just got lucky as fuck. How much HP do you have left?
2.
He does it minimum 2 damage. You're dead too.
We'll have to make our bets in heaven, buddy.
Now, well, this is kind of good because we're near the end of when we're going to end anyway. I suspect Milas and Roland are going to flee.
That seems like a good tactic.
Now, are you going to attempt to recover the inventory on Reap and Darcy, or not risk it and just flee?
I would. So my thought process was to get back here and cast sleep on them before they got to us, but they've gotten to us. So
Okay.
actually, you know what? I'm still gonna cast sleep on them. So Roland's still gonna try to peace out, but Milas is gonna try to move and then cast sleep.
So you're going to have Roland flee, so he may be potentially the sole survivor of the party. Though, I mean, trying to cast sleep, really that's just winning initiative in this case.
Right.
It's kind of like if you win initiative, you'll probably live and cast sleep. If you lose initiative, it seems pretty likely that you'll be mauled to death by killer frogs. Though you do have full HP. They don't really hit that hard.
Yeah.
So it's your call. But you do want Roland to try to flee?
Yes.
Well, he's got a 90% chance easily because he'd be a party of 1 fleeing from a party of 10.
That includes Poco.
Yeah. Only player characters count. It's racist like that.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll for Roland's chance to flee. Just percentile. And you just need below 90 or below. You did it.
Right.
Poor Roland, how terrifying would it be to not be able to see what's going on, but just to hear the sounds of the frogs and the sounds of the party members around you.
Milas is just like, run!
So really we just
Flee into the night with the
gotta
donkey.
let's say we're here in round 3. Whoops. Why did it do that? That was weird. Okay. And out of the picture. Fled. So it's really just between Milas and the frogs rolling off on initiative. Go ahead and see what you get. You lost.
Rip in peace.
You might live. They can move 20 yards. So I know he'll be able to get to here. I know he'll be able to get to there. I know he'll be able to get to there. This one I gotta measure though. He's gotta go there. He definitely could. And I'll just pile them in back here because really it just matters how many can surround you. Feel me? Alright. Isn't that a beautiful sight? So what is the old school lesson learned tonight?
Cast sleep in the first round of initiative.
Flee from encounters immediately, or cast sleep, or get rest not near the dungeon, at least maybe rest out in the safer plains or even in a town or something. You can even try to explore for maybe a closer place to rest or something. Who knows what could be out there. Anyhow, I'm gonna be rolling some attacks on Meatless. Are you ready?
15 attacks of minimum 2 damage. Get ready.
Now, what's perfect is the survivor's a good guy. So if he knows about like a missing daughter and everything, he's gonna pursue that shit. You feel me? He's gonna hire up some adventures and keep going. Bean, you mentioned you're gonna bring in your second string cleric now.
I actually looked at my character sheet and I haven't even put it all together yet.
Yeah, like we're gonna be wrapping it up here. It's all good.
Oh,
I
yeah,
figured
I
that'd be the
figured.
case. But
So I don't know if I'll end up being a cleric or not, to be honest.
Okay.
But it might be a good idea.
what about Miller? Do you know?
My thief's ready to go.
You have a
I
thief.
actually had to purchase equipment.
Alright.
But this would be interesting too. If Roland's a sole survivor, I'm chaotic evil.
You might see an easy mark that you could eventually take advantage of. Feel me? We'll have to see. I like how events are turning. Let's roll these attacks. So, what is your AC?
Let me check again. I already wrote off the character.
5.
Mealis' AC is 5?
5.
Yes.
Man, these dice are hot, dude. You're fucked. Okay. So, you're taking 1 damage so far. You're taking another damage, so 2 claw hits. He's hit you twice. See if his bite hits. That misses. That's the first frog. Second frog. Claw. For 2 damage. Whiff. And the bite. Whiffs. Right? Whiffs. Alright, third froggy. Claw. It's a whiff. Claw. It is in there for 1 damage. Bite
I thought you said the minimum was 2 damage. And...
on the bite.
Oh, I thought you said that was claw.
No. Claw's pretty low. I think that's a bite hit. Right? We were on bite, and we were on the third froggy, and that's a bite hit versus AC 5. How much HP is left in the bucket?
Not at liberty to say until he's dead.
Okay. Let's see. There we go. So that's gonna roll. That's a juicy, spicy 5 on that one.
He is now deceased.
Alright, he bit you to death on that one. What's that like?
It feels bad.
Okay. So this is a little bit of a setback for the party. You're gonna lose the stuff that was on those characters, though. It's not 100% that these carnivorous frogs are interested in gear or loot, so you could potentially come back and get it later. You know what I mean? In theory. Does that make sense? Roland knows where it is. But for now it's there. Roland's going to be the sole survivor after this. Now, assume roleplay wise, he would probably pursue trying to investigate for clues or even Joan herself in the ruins, her last known potential whereabouts. Right?
Well, he'd probably go to town and not.
Oh,
to
yeah.
the man.
That's what I mean. But I mean, he would be interested. It seems like based on his alignment, he would be interested in pursuing that.
Yeah,
So,
for a business, he'd probably go back and.
yeah, what would Roland see as the first order of business? Like, this is a pretty traumatic experience. He was kind of following this elf around. Then everyone but him was murdered in the night by a pack of carnivorous frogs as you attempted to convalesce near the forest ruins themselves. So he was able to flee into the night. It'll be the 14th day of summer when we get back into it. What does Roland feel like is next on the agenda? Head to Porthy, I'd assume.
Yeah, head to Porthy, get some adventurers to help him search for his friends and lay them to rest, and then go to look for Joan.
Got it. So it sounds like he'll be headed to the Black Flask, where we'll be hiring on Bean's second string and Miller's second string. The question is, you have a second string to bring on too, Zeus. You could bring on whichever one you want. Feel me? Which one do you
They're
think
both
about
stats,
bringing?
so, I don't know. I'm gonna decide. Look at their stats, see which one I'm more excited about.
Yeah, what do you got here? You got a lawful evil cleric. That's pretty juicy. And then you got a chaotic neutral thief. Both very good. Cool. I'm pretty excited about that. That's the way old school goes, man. At level 1, everything is dangerous as fuck. But I think this is a good place to wrap it up. We're not too far off from the time we're thinking about wrapping up anyway. I don't really think there's anything else we need to do. We've got all the notes. We know that their gear is going to be there. We know that Roland is going to have to head back to Porthy next, so I guess I can move us out to the wilderness map. That's going to be a little bit tricky and dangerous. Though since you're a one-man, you will be able to flee from pretty much everything easily. Though I would be open to, if you guys want to get together and have your characters, the 3 that are getting subbed in, if you want to have them be part of a group that's already journeying through the area or that meets Roland on the way and he kind of role plays to try to get him in on the thing, I'd be open to that too if you don't want to make Zeus get Roland all the way back to Porthy. But he wouldn't have the worst odds since it's just one man. He could flee most of the time, but it may not be 100%, so I'm willing to do that if that's what you guys want to do. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Groovy. Well, that was fun. We will schedule it up and pick it up next time. Peace. All right. That happened at a good time. We got some deaths. just like old school's gonna have. We're gonna be having some new characters coming in. Looking forward to that. We're gonna be having some more cautious players here in this old school 1980s Death Trap. That was a fun session, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in, hanging out as always. Got O shows coming up. Take a look at the schedule. Always try to keep that up to date. It'll adjust to your time zone for you. Y'all already supported the show in the best way by hanging out, tuning in, enjoying. Appreciate it. I would like to thank these illustrious members of the 420 Club. Let me thank Freeborn Pat, Sabatum, Vodka, Globe 99, and Miller Duo. Big ups to y'all for that extra Patreon support. If you feel like chipping in, you can do so in all the regular ways. But the best way to support is tuning in. So I'm glad you did. Just stay posted on the Twitch page. I'll keep the schedule as up to date as I can. And that's that. See y'all next time.